UFC 315 Belal Muhanmmed versus Della Maddalena takes place this weekend in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I'll be giving my full card predictions from the bottom to the top in this decent pay-per-view card. One thing that's really cool about it, though, is I will actually be going to this live. It's my first ever UFC event, going to it in person, so I'm really looking fucking forward to it. But anyways, the prelims are pretty solid. The main card's not bad. There's some good fights scattered throughout. This first one's not bad. We start off with Brad Katona taking on Azamat Almakhan. Brad Katona, he's 33 years old in this fight, so he is a much older guy. But he's much more experienced in the UFC, being 4-4. He's a great wrestler, very heavy approach. He has some decent hands and good power. He lost his last fight in a close decision to Gene Matsumoto. Gene Matsumoto at that time was 15-0. Brad also has a submission win way back in the day in the Ultimate Fighter over Bryce Mitchell. He's also a two-time Ultimate Fighter winner, Brad Katona. He originally won it, got to the UFC, had a tough skid. I believe his two losses originally were to Hunter Azur and Merab Dvalishvili. So he gets cut after going on a 2-fight skid, rallies and wins up, gets back on the Ultimate Fighter, and ends up winning it again. He won the finale over Cody Gibson, if I can remember that one. And since then has been, I think he's positive in this run in the UFC. Or no, he's probably 2-2 or something like that, but he hasn't been bad. Azamat Almakhan, on the other hand, he's a 27-year-old Kazakhstan native. He's 11-2 overall and 0-1 in the UFC. However, his only loss is on short notice to Umar Nurmagomedov, where Umar did drop him in that first round. He had him hurt pretty bad, just for Almakhan actually dropped Umar in the first round. My mistake. Where Umar was quick to get back to his feet and stuff, but he still did drop Umar. The power was there. It was a legit knockdown. Overall, however, Azamat did get 30-26. Azamat has good power. He's got 9 KOs and 1 sub out of his 11 wins, so 10 out of 11 wins by finish. However, he has been submitted before and was getting spam taken down by Umar. Do I think that Brad Katona can have the similar approach to Umar Nurmagomedov? Fuck no. But I do think that he can be weird. I think that he can win minutes up against the cage. It's in his backyard in Canada. And Brad Katona is a tricky guy to beat. You have to have a grimy style or almost be better than him at it. He cut up Gene Matsumoto pretty good. I think Katona also had a pretty big slice out of his face as well. But Gene Matsumoto would probably beat Azamat Almakhan if I had to say. But again, styles make fights. I'm still going to take the veteran here, Canada, to go up on the board early. Brad Katona to win this fight by submission. No, fuck that. Brad Katona by decision. There could be a submission here, however, just because Azamat does have a submission loss and Katona is very experienced, maybe a late round 3 submission. But give me Brad Katona to win this fight by decision. Next up on the bout order, we have Daniel Willie Cat Santos taking on Jung Young Lee. Daniel Santos was supposed to fight a couple weeks ago. I believe it was against John Castaneda. He pulled out of that fight, though, on short notice. Willie Cat's 2-1 in the UFC. He lost his UFC debut to Julio Arce. He's not Castaneda. He was supposed to fight... I'm blanking on who he was supposed to fight. Oh, it was Davey Grant. He was supposed to fight Davey Grant a couple weeks ago, but pulled out of that fight and fucking ruined the night for me. I wanted to fucking watch that Davey Grant fight. But after Daniel Santos lost his debut, he picked up a TKO win over John Castaneda in the second round with a big body knee. It's a pretty impressive win, actually. It was a war of a fight. Both guys dropped each other, but in the end, it was Santos landed a dirty knee in the second round. His last fight, however, he beat Johnny Munoz by decision in a pretty lackluster fight. Munoz is no longer in the UFC. Daniel Santos, he's only had 3 fights in the UFC, and he's had 6 fights canceled, and he's stepping in on this fight on short notice. Santos is pretty well-rounded, but he likes to strike more. He does look for some shakedowns as well, though. Excuse me. And he also trains at Chuta Box with Charles Oliveira. Jung Young Lee, on the other hand, he's 29 years old. He's 11-2 overall, and 2-1 in the UFC, so the exact same as Daniel Santos. He lost his last fight by KO inside a minute to Hyder Emil, where it was just like a Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje from the fucking get-go. I don't know what both guys were really doing. However, Jung Lee, he was getting cracked way more, and like the fact that he kept going and kept like going ego for ego with this guy, strike for strike, the IQ was just so poor. His wins before then, however, were over Blake Builder by decision, and he beat Yija in the road to UFC final by split decision. Blake Builder, I mean, like, he's alright. He was supposed to be a little bit better. Yija, and like, road to UFC guys in general, I struggle to rate too high. I mean, I don't really think there's been one that's been very good. Who's the best? I don't know if Tatsuro Tairo is one of those boys, but again, like, he'd be the odd one out in my opinion. I'm thinking of like the fucking Jekka Sergis, the Anshu Jublis, the whatever. But the overall, Rene Nakamura, they just haven't been great. So I'm just gonna go with Willie Cat Santos to win this fight on short notice, but I just think that he's a much better fighter, and I do think that he's going to find a KO probably in the first round. I just don't like Jung Lee's fight IQ, and just this opponent change could have fucked him a little bit. Daniel Santos was training for Davey Grant, who's much better, and it's not like he's going to be coming into this one off the couch, like completely off the couch. So he's ready to fight. Give me Daniel Santos to win this fight by knockout. On to our next. We have Marc-Andre Baralt taking on Bruno Silva. Marc-Andre Baralt, he's 35 years old. Both guys 35 years old, actually. 6'1". He's 16-9 overall and 5-8 in the UFC. This fight's going to be a barn burner, all action. However, Marc-Andre has lost his last two fights by KO and by vicious KO to Dustin Stoltzfus, who is a notorious grappler. And Joe Pyfer, who literally just killed Marc-Andre. It was pretty brutal. Like, it was brutal as fuck, actually. His last win was over Eric Anders by decision in 2023, and that's just not a good win. And I mean, Marc-Andre at this point in his career, and like, I mean, he's always kind of been like this. It's just a glass cannon. Like, I mean, Chidi Njokuani took him out of there in about 15 seconds. Like, multiple knockout losses. He did have a split decision with Chris Curtis. Like, it was an okay fight. I don't think it should have been a split. Not a whole lot. I mean, he's Canadian, so like the crowd will be fucking roaring for him. But, you know, Bruno Silva, on the other hand, he's 23-12. He's 4-6 in the UFC. Bruno, one thing about him, the first thing I'm going to say is, out of his 23 wins, 20 of them are by KO. He's most known for fighting Alex Pereira and going the distance with him, however, is on a 4-fight losing streak. He's lost 3 in a row by decision to Shara Bullet, Chris Weidman, and Ismail Nardiev in his last fight, and was club and subbed by Brendan Allen before then. The style matchups, however, don't favor him too much. I mean, like, are we really going to outstrike Shara? Are we going to beat... I mean, the Chris Weidman fight was fucking bullshit. He was getting poked in the eyes every 2 fucking seconds. Chris Weidman won that fight by eye poke TKO. He hit him with the fucking one with his fingers out and follows it up with a left finger cross. Like, I don't know what the fuck the ref is seeing. Yeah, so Weidman ends up picking up that W. Mark is going to give him the fight that he wants. I think that Bruno has a slightly better chin, and he has better striking, more power, and I just think that he's probably going to get Marc-Andre out of there within the first 2 or 3 minutes. If I had to put a minute fucking prediction on it, I don't really see where Marc-Andre is going to win this fight. Both guys don't shoot takedowns. Both guys aren't good on the ground. Marc-Andre doesn't have a fucking chin anymore, and Bruno's isn't great either. It's not like he just can't get chinned either. But I just think that it's better. It's just better, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna be taking Bruno Silva to win this one by round 1 KO. I gotta go against the Canadians for this one. On to our next fight. Navajo Sterling takes on Ivan Erslan. Pretty weird fight. Navajo 27 years old compared to Ivan's 33. However, Navajo's only 6-0 as a professional, and he's 1-0 in the UFC. He's unproven so far. He won his last fight by decision, his UFC debut, to over Tuco Turcos, who's just a fucking dog shit fighter. However, he did have a disgusting KO on the Contender Series with a left hook, one and done. And before then was smoking everyone on the regional scene for the most part. He's pretty slow, but he's very calculated on the feet, and he trains with City Kickboxing in New Zealand. However, he was taken down 3 times by Tuco Tokos. One thing I will say as well, though, is Navajo looks like he's in the best shape of his fucking life. The guy looks like an absolute brick shithouse right now at 205. 6'4" for the weight class with an 80-inch reach. Like, the guy's a fucking specimen if he wants to be. He really needs to stuff takedowns here. He's going to need to really stick to like front kicks and teep kicks to the body. I think this is a very winnable fight for him, but I think it is a very losable fight for him as well, because if he just starts getting taken down, but Ivan Urslan is a better fucking grappler, I don't care, than Tuco Turcos. So if you're not more locked in there, like, the path to victory for Ivan Urslan is to just grapple, control, and win this fight by decision. I will talk about Ivan a little bit here, though. He's 14-4. He's 0-1 in the UFC, and he lost his UFC debut to Ion Cutelaba on short notice, where he was just kind of getting out-grappled. However, he did have 1 takedown at a 50% clip, and on the regional scene, his wins are pretty solid as well as his losses. Most of them come by KO. This is going to be a close fight. I think that it's going to the scorecards no matter what. Like, who do I want to go here? I think I might bite the bullet. No. Navajo Sterling's going to look good on the feet. He's going to stuff takedowns. He surely has to be improving. Navajo wins this fight by decision. I wouldn't bet too much on this fight. I would take Ivan Urslan by decision. This is a very close fight. Yeah, give me Navajo by decision. Moving up to Modestas Bukauskas taking on Ion Cutelaba, who we just mentioned in the last fight would be Ivan Urslan. Modestas is 31 years old, 6'3", 17-6 overall, and 5-4 in the UFC. He started 1-4 in the UFC, where he was oblique kicked out of the UFC by Khalil Roundtree. He got sent back to the Cage Warriors after that loss. Since returning to the UFC, however, he's now went 4-1 with his with his loss being a KO to Vitor Petrino. He got flatlined in that fight. His wins have just been mid, however. His last fight, he KO'd Rafael Cirquinera, whatever his name is, in the first minute of the fight. Like, it was just like, that guy's fucking dust. Ibo Aslan smoked that guy, like, and Ibo Aslan, in my opinion, is dust. Yeah, we're both guys. Modestas in that fight versus Rafael was just getting touched up as well. Like, the chin goes way up in the air, and it's just like, fuck. I was stressing balls. I know I had money on Modestas. One thing I will say, though, about him is that he's well-rounded. He does have a 71% takedown defense. He does have a couple submission wins. His path to victory here, though, in my opinion, is maybe a late submission. But I kind of struggle to see Modestas' path to victory, while I can see one for Ion Cutelaba a lot better. I know people are saying Modestas, like, round 1 KO, and it's just like, maybe if Ion Cutelaba had the same brain that he did 3 or 4 years ago, where this guy didn't really give a fuck about the outcome of the result, or outcome of the fight, it seemed like. He was just swinging for the fences every single fucking second, and yeah, was in those entertaining fucking fights. But his last 2 fights, he's actually implemented fight IQ and looked very solid. Like, in his last one, he got his first ever submission win. It was his first ever submission attempt in the UFC, and the guy's he's 8-9-1 in the UFC. So he's had 18 fights in the fucking UFC, and that was his first submission attempt, and you get a submission. It's just showing evolution in your game. So I don't think that Ion's going to approach this fight like people think, for Modestas to even have an opportunity to KO him in the first round. I think that he's going to be shooting for knees early, Ion, and getting those takedowns. Because Ion Cutelaba is just a fucking specimen, man. He's been a win one, lose one guy for most of his career. But, I mean, his losses are to very good guys. I mean, Jared Cannonier, Glover, Ankalaev twice. A little bit worse level guys, but like Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker, Kennedy, and Jekulu. Like, he's losing to good guys, and I just don't even put Modestas Bukauskas in the Ryan Spann category yet. Like, I don't even put him in there yet. He hasn't done anything to me. His wins are like fucking Tyson Pedro and whatever, Rafael Sincanera. I just think that Ion Cutelaba, like his stats, he averages 4 takedowns per 15 at a 52% clip, and he does have solid takedown defense. And I just think that he's gonna mix in the tools and find himself around 2 or 3 ground and pound finish or a 30-27 dominant victory. But I will go around 2 ground and pound. And I think that this fight is competitive on the feet. Ion can put anyone out on any given day. Like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. Ion Cutelaba by finish in round 2, probably by ground and pound. On to the next fight we go to the women's division. Jessica Andrade takes on Jasmine Jasudavicius. Andrade is actually the 3-year younger lady here. She's 33 years old compared to Jasmine's 36. However, has way more experience, being 26-13, 17-11 in the UFC compared to Jasmine's only 13-3 and 7-2 in the UFC overall. Jessica, though, is getting to the end of her career. She hasn't had that amazing performance in a while. She's coming off a decision loss to Natalia Silva, where she was just a step behind. But I mean, Natalia Silva's fighting Alexa Grasso in like the featured fight of this card, and has a very good chance of winning. I mean, she's a favorite. So that just shows you how good Natalia Silva is, because Grasso's coming off those 3 fights with Shevchenko, fucking subbed her. So clearly she has championship aspirations. So that's her last loss. Before, she won a split decision over Marina Rodriguez, who just retired. She did pick up a KO in there somewhere. I forget. I didn't write it down, sadly, for Andrade. She did pick up a KO win before then, though. However, it was just 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, where she had back-to-back losses all in a row, all by finish. And it just kind of seems like she relies on the power a little bit too much now. I think that she could get outworked and out-controlled in this fight, but I could also just see her sparking Jasmine. I mean, Jasmine Jasudavicius, she's on a 4-fight win streak. Overall, hasn't beat great people. Her best win was the decision in her last one over Mayra Buena Silva. Weird fight. Her last step up in competition before then was Tracy Cortez, and she lost that fight pretty comfortably. She's 3 years older, like I said. She is much bigger, though, being 5'7" compared to Andrade's 5'1". But I mean, like, on the feet, Jasmine is fucking terrible, in my opinion. Like, yeah, sure, people say, like, she's a workhorse and, like, she's got this crazy gas tank almost, but, like, she was gassed out in her last fight. And when it comes punch for punch, like, I mean, Jessica's getting finished by Tatiana Suarez, Yao Jianan. I'm blanking on who the other one was, but, like, Aaron Blanchfield? I want to say Aaron Blanchfield. And it's just, like, Jasmine is not on that top of the food chain level fighter, and I don't know. I'm gonna bite the bullet again on a big underdog here, and I'm taking Jessica Andrade to win this fight by knockout or decision. Moving on to probably one of my favorite fights on this card. We got Mike Proper Malott taking on Chuck Buffalo Charles Radke. Malott 33 compared to Radke's 34. Malott's 11-2 overall and 4-1 in the UFC. People haven't really seen Mike Malott the same since he got TKO'd by Neil Magny, where he just gassed the fuck out. He couldn't do anything once Magny got into mount or side control, or not. I think it was half guard, and just started raining down punches. But people forget, man. Mike Malott's actually had a fight since Neil Magny. He beat Trevin Giles. He snuck in a little decision win over Trevin Giles in a really fucking boring fight on the feet. It didn't go to the ground, and Mike just kind of outpoint fought him. Mike's very well-rounded, though. He's got good potential at points. I question, though, his striking defense and not getting hit with a bomb early. I'm not sure if he doesn't, which I'm not sure if he fucking does, but I think that he will win a decision, or maybe like a late head kick. But I'm still going to have to talk about my boy Chuck Buff here. 10-3 overall. He's 3-1 in the UFC, coming off a 1-minute KO over Matthew Semmelsberger, where he made him look silly, like an absolute sitting duck. The power was crazy. Before then, he was finished by Carlos Prates with that big body knee. But again, Carlos Prates, how hard are we going to compare Mike Malott and Carlos Prates and their striking? Not really the same in my opinion. Before then, he Radke flatlined Gilbert Urbina, picked up a win in his debut over Blood Diamond, where he came on the mic and dropped his base legend post-fight interview that still has Daniel Cormier scarred to this day. I like Radke, man. I think that he's more than capable of putting out Mike Malott in the first round here, and I think that he will. That's going to be my pick. I'll get it off my chest. Charles Radke by first round knockout. Mike, when he's getting pressured against the cage, like even if you go look at his knockout over Mickey Gall, like the guy is just like I love Mike. Like my fucking phone background is me and Malott. Like I've met this guy, but he keeps his chin up and he throws these hooks that are kind of not like protective of himself enough. Like I don't know if that just sounds silly, but I think that Radke's more than capable of catching him on the feet. And I think that when it comes to the ground, I think that it's going to be pretty hard for Malott to actually take down Radke. So yeah, I'm going to take Charles Radke to win this fight by first round KO. We move on to the main card opener. A fight that I needed to see get rescheduled because if we lost this one and the Gilbert Burns fight, it's just like, what the fuck? Benoit Saint-Denis, he takes on UFC, not newcomer, but re-signing Kyle Killshot Prepelec. Benoit's 29, Prepelec's 35. Prepelec's first stint in the UFC, he went 0-2. He lost to fucking Austin Hubbard. That says enough. Benoit Saint-Denis is going to murder this guy. Benoit's on that 2-fight skid, of course. He lost by TKO to Dustin Poirier and Renato Moicano. His holes in his game are going backwards, his head movement. However, the guy's still only 29. He's a very good fighter overall. He's well-rounded. Submitted Ismael Bonfim, knocked out, why am I blanking on? Thiago Moises. He's got some good wins in there, like good power. And when Benoit Saint-Denis on, the fucking head kick over Favola. When the guy's on, he looks very fucking good. And I think that this is a fight where he is going to absolutely destroy the hometown guy, Kyle Killshot Prepelec. Prepelec, to get this shot back in the UFC, he's fought absolute cans, and the only reason he's doing that, he's fighting in this fight is because Benoit Saint-Denis was turning down fights against Gamrot and a couple other boys. So Dana's just going to call some random dude off the couch. You want this opportunity in front of your home fans. You're fighting in the top 15. I don't know who the fuck wouldn't want to take this fight if you're Prepelec, especially if you're still training and fighting MMA. But you're going to get fucked. People are probably going to be taking Benoit by KO, but I mean, Prepelec's got 10 KO wins and he's never been KO'd, but he does have a submission loss or two. So I'm going to take Benoit Saint-Denis to win this fight by round 1 club and sub submission. Yeah. Moving up to Alexa Grasso taking on Natalia Silva. Grasso 31 compared to Natalia's 28. 16-4-1, 8-4-1 in the UFC for Alexa Grasso. Former champion, lost her last 3 fights have been to Valentina Shevchenko, where she won 1 by submission, had a loss in her last fight, and had that draw in the middle where should not have been a draw. Shevchenko won that fight. The fact that a judge gave it a 10-8 in the 5th round to Grasso is beyond me for a round that Shevchenko won. She has good takedowns, submission ability as shown, and she has very good boxing. Her boxing is the best part of her game. She's fought the way better competition, and overall I think that Grasso can get the takedowns and can win the decision. Natalia Silva, though, on the other hand, she's a legit prospect, 18-5-1, 6-0 in the UFC. She's a fun fighter, great prospect. She has nasty teeps, goes to the body well, goes to the head a lot, has good side kicks. And she does well on the back foot. That's how she beat Jessica Andrade and just outlanded her. She has slick striking, solid takedown defense, and it's coming off that decision when I just said that. I don't have to say too much about this fight, but overall I'm going to take Alexa Grasso to win this one by decision. I just think the level of competition, the experience here in these big moments. Again, like her last 3 fights have been to Shevchenko, and you really think that like this seems like a step down in competition, of course, in my opinion. So I'm going to take Grasso to win this one by decision. To my favorite fight of the card, I can't wait to fucking see Jose Aldo walk out in front of my own eyes. Taking on Ayman Zahabi. That guy can go fuck himself. Aldo 38, Zahabi 37. Aldo 32-9 overall, 14-8, however, in the UFC. Zahabi 12-2 overall and 6-2 in the UFC. So Zahabi being 37, but he only has 14 professional fights compared to Aldo's 41 is pretty fucking significant. And this UFC experience. Jose in his last fight lost a bullshit split decision to Mario Bautista where he got cage clinch fucked. Before then, however, was 5-1 with his only loss being to Merab, where Merab went 0 for 16 on takedown attempts. And he's still at the highest level in my opinion. I think that he's just gonna KO Zahabi with a body shot because Aldo has some of the best takedown defense in the game. Like I said, he stuffed 16 for 16 takedowns from Merab Dvalishvili. Ayman's not going to get this fight to the ground. So strike for strike, who do you have? Zahabi or fucking Jose Aldo? Jose Aldo all day. Zahabi's path to victory here is holding Aldo against the cage. But the people that have been able to do that to Aldo in the past have been Merab, Volkanovski, Mario Bautista. Are we really going to put fucking Ayman Zahabi there at 37 years old? I don't see it whatsoever. I think that Jose Aldo's going to put him out with a body shot in the second round. Yeah, Jose by TKO. Moving on to the co-main event. The first of two championship fights, we have Valentina Shevchenko taking on Manon Fiorot. Valentina coming off a dominant decision win over Alexa Grasso to seal the trilogy. She had 8 takedowns in that fight, and she's adapted every single fight. The thing that with these women's champions like Zhang Weili, these dominant ones, is that they're constantly they're doing things to out. They're just improving every single aspect of their game. Like Zhang Weili is now a complete grappler, like you'd almost think. Like she controls people for the majority of the fights now. Shevchenko, at 37 years old, it seems like that's kind of now what she's moving on to keep staying dominant, keep winning these fights, and keep just being a better mixed martial artist. There's a reason why this chick's champion with she's covered every single ruby on her belt, like 8 or 9 title defenses overall, or title fight wins. She has 12 championship fights compared to Manon Fiorot's 1. This is her first one. And I think that Shevchenko's better everywhere. That might sound crazy. People might think that Fiorot's a much better striker. Like, where are you getting that? Because she finished her first 2 fights in the UFC? Do we need to go watch Valentina Shevchenko knock out Jessica Ai into the fucking shadow round brutally? Or finish Lauren Murphy? Or submit Juliana Pena with an armbar? Like, I mean, are we really... Or is this a people forget man? Is this a people forget man? Valentina Shevchenko, very fucking dominant champion, and she's the underdog in this fight versus Fiorot. I don't know why. Fiorot 7-0 in the UFC. She's coming off an impressive win over Erin Blanchfield, where she stuffed all the takedowns and looked good on the feet. Erin Blanchfield looked fucking terrible in that fight. I don't know if it was because she was fighting the Molly Meatballs before then, but like, seriously, her striking was awful, and like her takedowns were terrible. The only thing with Fiorot's competition is that she's fighting very one-dimensional fighters. Like I said, Erin Blanchfield, no hands. Jennifer Maia, literally 0 hands. Mayra Buena Silva, mid-hands. Her stylistic hardest fight so far in her career was Rose Namajunas, who broke her hand in the first round and took her to a close decision. She cut up Fiorot in that fight. She was mixing stuff in. And I just think that Shevchenko is going to show her levels. Fiorot's fought no one near the competition of Shevchenko or a lady like Valentina. Compared to Valentina, who's fought the who's, Nunes times 2, all of her fucking championship wins. Like, you name it, she's fought them. Just the what am I trying to say? The point that these ladies are at in their careers, it's just like, why would Shevchenko lose to Fiorot, who's 35? Like, it's not like she's some young chick either. So yeah, I'm taking Valentina to win this one by a 49-46 decision. She might drop the first round, but like maybe the second. So yeah, Give me Shevchenko by decision. And on to our main event. Belal Muhammmed takes on Jack Della Maddalena. I've been flip-flopping about this fight for a while. When it first opened, I was Belal Muhammmed. I switched a little bit. I was thinking, like, how could Jack win? And then I was like, nah, Belal's going to win, but we'll see here. Belal's 36 compared to Jack Della's 28. Belal's 24-3 overall, 15-3 in the UFC. It's a crazy record. Won no contest, obviously, to Leon Edwards. The champ Belal defends his belt for the first time. He's coming off a solid win over Leon Edwards. His hands look great in that fight. He mixed in the wrestling pretty good and won that fight 3-2. Before then, he beat Gilbert Burns, who only had one arm, and his most impressive win being the KO over Sean Brady, in my opinion. He's a tricky fighter here for Jack, but the thing is, like, in that fight versus Leon had two or three takedowns himself. He had Belal's back at one point. He reversed Belal a couple times. And someone like Jack is, with one arm against Gilbert Burns in his last fight, was scrambling up the eggs like nobody's business. Like, he was cooking that shit like an absolute chef. You go to the third round where he did that, like, Granby roll, Julio Arce versus Demir Ismagulov fucking breakdance out of the scramble, and then goes in and lands a fucking knee as Gilbert goes in for a takedown. That's pretty impressive, especially with only one arm. That was confirmed that he broke his arm in the first round. He was down in that fight, but I mean, he was just getting spam taken down, but he was getting up very fast with one arm. Jack Della, the thing is, when it comes to the feet, do we really think that Belal's better than Jack on the feet? I don't. I think that Belal's got a great kick on him. It's very fast. But in terms of the boxing, Jack Della can box this guy's head off. We've seen Vicente Luque knock out Belal Muhammad before, and I could see a similar KO to that. I'm actually going to be taking Jack Della Maddalena and New by TKO for a few reasons. I just think that the UFC really wants this to happen because they're trying to get Islam at 170 and Ilya to take over 155 or whatever's going on right now. And it's just like, fuck. There's an 8-year age gap here. Belal getting reversed and getting, like, he wasn't as dominant as you think. That fight was 3-2 Belal. We just saw Sean Brady 4-0 Leon Edwards and sub him, like, bad. And again, like, styles make fights, but I'm going to ride with New Jack Della Maddalena to win this fight by round 3 or 4 KO. And that'll do it for my full card UFC 315 predictions. Thank you if you got to this point in the video, and see you next week.